Yeah. All right, so
what's happening with you, brother?
Ain't too much. I want to welcome everybody back. Another episode, Deep Skydiving Podcast. It's me, AJ, and I got my partner here. I'll let you tell. How do you want us to address you?
Man, however you feel comfortable. Mo, Pastor, whatever you want to call me, man. Right. I'm cool.
Pastor
way.
Mo. Yeah. We put them together. We put them together. All right, so today, I really want to, me and Darah, or Darah and I, on a text conversation, she had expressed, she voiced her opinions about men and their voices and our posture. And so I really want to have a discussion.
What's wrong with our posture?
We're going to talk about it.
I got to sit up straight or something?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. But really, I want to get your perspective on things. So I don't want it to really be like an interview setup.
Okay.
But more so like a discussion.
All right. Well, however you want to roll.
All right, cool. So if you had any questions and anything also, like a discussion, it could be anything. All right, so we pray in.
I like Darah to be here. She's had the text.
She right there. Oh, don't worry. She'll chat.
Right here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to read. Do you have it? Could you pull it up, the text?
No, y'all good. I'm just messing with you guys.
I got a piece of it anyway. All right, but we're gonna pray in, though.
Let's do this.
We're going to go to the king. It's AJ.
And Darah. Here we are. Deep skydiving.
Skeep diving.
Skeep diving.
Yeah.
Deep skydiving, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Deep Sky.
Deep skydiving.
Oh, she got it. Go ahead.
I don't know. That's
Go ahead,
not
do
really.
it again. I missed it.
I don't have much more than that.
Oh, all right.
So, deep skydiving.
Deep skydiving. Father, I just thank you right now for this time, for this moment, for affording us another day, for your new mercies and new grace that you give us every day, Father. I thank you. Just ask first and foremost that you forgive us for our sins, Father. Let our lives be honorable before you. And we just want to show your love, Father. The same love and grace that you've given us, we want to give those to other people, Father, just to be representatives and ambassadors of your kingdom. Have your way at this time, Father. Let our words come through with clarity, Father. Let us speak from the heart, Father, but you guide our tongues. You guide our words and our thoughts. You just have your way. Have your way with the listeners, with the hearers also, Father. I pray that they be able to receive something from this and be able to grow and even just challenge themselves, Father. You know why we do this thing. We want to bring men and women together, Father, with understanding. There's so much pitting us against each other. We just want to be able to come together and grow together, Father. So I thank you for this time. I thank you for my brother that's going to join me today. And I thank you for my sister behind the camera, Father. Yeah. So have your way in our lives and in all that we do, Father. We just want to honor you. We want to glorify you. And we lift up your name, Yahushua, above all names. And it's in your name we pray these things. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so let's get straight to it.
Let's get to that text.
Okay.
No. I got it. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. I got it. You want me to get to it?
Yeah, but not yet. Not yet.
All right.
So
I can
first,
do this, right?
Yeah, man, no doubt. You could, yeah. First off, can you pass me my green one, please? I want to get, what is a man? How do you identify one?
What is a man and how do you identify one?
Now, how do you identify one?
First of all, I believe a man is a man who, first of all, honors God. He believes in God. He honors God. And two, I believe the core of any man is about responsibility.
Oh, man. Okay. Oh, yeah, we going there. I love it. I love it. Nah, because you right on it. What about a man is admirable to you? It's admirable to you.
What are those qualities? Or
yeah. What about a man? Like, I want you to think of somebody that you might have admired and you said, man, that's a dude I got a lot of respect for. Like, I honor this dude.
It's been a lot of dudes like that. For me, I built the man. You know how you go to the store, Build-A-Bear?
Yeah.
I like different qualities in different men. And, just to be very honest, I try to respect all men the best that I possibly can. But what type? I mean, a guy who's accountable, a guy who knows what he wants, goes for. I respect you. No, serious.
Appreciate it.
No. All jokes aside, not just because of no show, but I do respect you. I respect a man who's willing to admit where they at, that's honest, and honesty is one of those keys for me. I like funny guys. Like
Yeah.
I always, I could be such a serious dude. I'm just being honest. I could be such a serious dude, but I always admired dudes who had that comedy piece to them. You know, so that's why you see the dudes I hung around like, oh, my neighborhood was funny.
Funny dudes.
Yeah. So I admired humor. What else can I say? A guy, like I said, a guy who knew what he went out, got determined, ambitious. I respect that about dudes, you know, who went out, got it. Yeah, so spiritual was another key piece too, because I respect the man who honors God. Like, not that he don't make mistakes, but he's really pressing towards trying to honor God.
Did you always hold that sentiment? Like,
No.
a man that...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Which part? The spiritual part?
Yes.
Yeah, no. All
right, so...
To me, they was weak.
A man that honored God was weak, or a man that believed in God was weak.
Yeah.
Why did you think that? Like, what?
Because it seemed like they let it just seemed to me that they let. When I went to church, I seen weak dudes and I seen women run churches.
All right, good. We gonna stop right there, because we gonna come back to this real soon. But you said something which led me to my next question. These 3 questions I wanted to hit before we really got into it.
Okay.
And when I asked you, like, what is a man? How do you identify one? One word you said was responsibility. What is man's responsibility in this world?
To glorify God. That's the religious answer.
I mean, I'm with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the religious answer. I believe man's job is to honor God, to live for God. That's the core responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so we're going to go into this spirituality part.
You deep, brother.
You hit, like, you don't even realize you hit, like, every joke. What, I believe? No, that's... I 100% agree with that. I believe every man's job is to glorify God, like in all the things that we do, every aspect of life, how we carry ourselves, because we believe the same thing.
Right.
Since we was created in God's image, He put us here for dominion. It was to be like little images of Him.
That's right.
And so, if we're doing life properly, glorifying God is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so, I believe that's what every man's responsibility is. All right, so pastor, right? You say you was a pastor.
Oh, just call me Mo. It's all good. For the sake of the show, I'm good with it.
All right, cool.
God gonna get the glory regardless.
100%. So, if you find it necessary, how do you separate Mo the man from Mo the pastor?
How do I separate that? I don't.
So, in your everyday life, like,
it's not that, because pastor to me is a function, not a title. So if I'm pastoring, the core pastoring is about shepherding and loving people.
Right.
So I think that's just what you should do.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't have to put, some people got to put on hats. I feel as though I don't have to put on that hat. I could just be me wherever I go. Yeah. Because if I'm genuinely loving, I'm gonna do that whether I'm sitting at this table right here or preaching on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's for me.
Something that hit me, and I'll be real transparent. God revealed to me who I was back in like right before we had started the church. It was like 2012, 2013 sometime. And I had a buddy of mine where he had gave his life to Christ. Like I had prayed with him and he gave his life to Christ and everything. And I felt responsible for him. Matter of fact, God told me that I was responsible for him. But I wasn't mature in my walk in certain areas. And I seen him like go off the deep end in that area. And I was like, dang, God, was that because I didn't
do your part?
Yeah. Because I didn't do my part and I couldn't even really hold him accountable to it.
I wasn't even.
Because I wasn't even. And I would never say that what I'm doing is right or try to justify it in any way possible. Like I won't be a hypocrite and say that. Well, it's excusable because of me or I wouldn't do anything like that. I would say, look, I know I'm wrong. I know I was wrong in doing this. But it hurt me when I saw him go so far with it. And then I was like, and I couldn't do nothing but beat myself up for it. And now, so this was, you talking about almost 10 years ago. Now, y'all know my buddy Greg that I was talking about at my job. Now, like when thoughts come to my mind,
you do it.
Not that I'm talking about the bad thoughts.
Oh, okay.
But now
okay,
when bad thoughts come to my mind, I think about people like Greg. I think about people like Bruce. I think about Lil Dion's, and I'm like, and now because I used to battle with why can't I stop this? Like why am I dealing with this? And to be honest with you, I don't know. I couldn't I know I can't do it in my flesh. Like a lot of times when I really just give it up to God, I know it sounds cliche-ish, but I really just like, man, God, you really got to help me with this. But now I'm in a place where it's like I can't afford to, even though nobody might not ever figure out, nobody might not find these things out or whatever. I mean, everything will get exposed in due time. Yeah, but even God still, yeah, he know. But that conviction right there is like I can't, because I remember what it did with my homie 10 years ago. I'm like, I don't want to see my heart has changed for me. It was like I don't
thing again. See that happen to somebody else again.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when I was in this multi-level marketing thing with this dude, he told me something that always stick with me. He was like, what you do in moderation, they will do in excess.
Yes.
And I was like, dang. And that always stuck with me. And so now I think about the people that come to me, the people that I pour into now when I'm thinking about doing something I ain't got no business doing, or even just small stuff.
I remember Anwar told me that one day.
What?
Dude did something to me. Was you there? We were playing basketball out what's that school Keith used to go Christian Academy School.
Oh, National.
National. We was playing basketball out there one day, and the dude, man, he roughed me off on the court. I mean, carried me. And he was there with a whole bunch of dudes, and it just was me and Anwar. So I stepped outside, and I'm heated. I'm heated. I'm not past that this time. I'm just leading a Bible study.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? At this time, man, I was heated. And I remember Anwar text me. He said, whatever you about to do, you need to think about everybody who's attached to you.
Wow.
And by that time, I had already made the phone call. Just being real with you. So my man come up on the scene, and when he come up in there, he walked in there, and we and him walking in there, and it's like you could just hear that one basketball stop, boom, boom, boom. Like the whole gym got quiet because he walking the junk, coveralls on, all black, and immediately the dude ran up to me and he was like, hey, cuz, nah, it ain't all, cuz the dude that I called, it was too late. He meant business. But then I had to step in. I said, you know what? It's like the Holy Spirit kicked in and like shook me.
Yeah.
So I pulled the dude out of the room, me, him, and my man, we talking. We sitting out there talking. I was like, shawty, you don't realize you made threats on my life. Because the dude, not only was he banging me on the court, and you know, I don't mind playing rough, bang. But this dude really was like, nigga, I'll do this. And, you know, he was going in on me.
Yeah, unnecessary.
And so when we got out there, we ended up talking. And by the time it was over, man, we ended up praying. So next thing you know, his boys came out, and Wanda came out. We ended up in a circle praying.
Man.
But initially, I just want to piggyback on what you were saying. I didn't feel that way. I was like, man, I want to hurt this dude. I really want to hurt this guy, you know. But really what it was he just wounded my ego.
Yeah.
You know?
It takes a man to admit
it.
Yeah. All right, man. I want to keep going on that though.
Keep going. Wherever you going, I'm riding.
Because I don't think we as men really understand. Like God told me one thing. He said, your influence is your responsibility. And he's like, use it to save lives, not to take astray. And when he first told me that, this was some years ago, I was still more immature than I am now. And not to say that I'm there. I'm still not there all the time. But now it actually comes to my thought process whenever I'm doing things, like consider those who may be affected by this, even though you can't see how they may be affected by this, but those that are closest to you.
Downstream impacts. Of the choices we make today.
And so especially if like people, we I think as people just in general, we do this. Like when we have like a respect, a high level of respect for somebody, we put them
on a pedestal.
And people do that to me. Not a lot of people, but people that's close to me, they like, man, I got a lot of respect for you. Yeah.
and where you at and how you elevate it. Yeah.
And it'll make me feel a certain way if I was to do something stupid and then it got exposed and now they look at me like, and I'm not, this ain't nothing to him or whatever, but you know, Martin Luther King, he did these great things. He's a big pillar in our community, but some people can't get past the fact that, well, I don't even know if it's a fact.
He messed them women. He
Yeah.
messed with them women. Yeah.
Yeah, and so for a lot of people that discredits like the things, they don't care about none of the other stuff. Just like Bill Cosby, what he did with them women, it just, they don't care about anything else.
Well, they didn't read the Bible.
They did.
I'm just serious.
Yeah, most Christians haven't.
Because if you read the Bible, you'll discredit David. You'll discredit Moses. You're going to discredit a lot of people that God used. This walk, one thing I always tell people, men, it's not about perfection, it's about pressing.
Yeah.
And Paul says, it's not that I've obtained this, but I press towards the mark of the high calling. You know, he goes on, even and then we talk about the good that I want to do, I find myself now, you know that scripture.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the scriptures that I hold on to. But it's like, if you fall forward. This is what I tell people. If you fall, just fall forward. Keep pressing. Get back up. Keep going, you know. I mean, because we all going to make mistakes, even as a pastor. Because one thing I had to learn to do is forgive myself for the mistakes I made.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the hardest things. The world may not get to see the mistakes.
What does that process look like?
But my wife does.
What does that process look like forgiving yourself? Like really letting things go so that, you know, you can, me and her, we used to always say, like, who are we to not forgive ourselves if God has already forgiven us?
That's real. That's real.
Like,
and I think that will be different for different people, but I know for me is the process of, you know, when them thoughts try to come back and try to say, you shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda, you know you was wrong. It's like that reoccurring thought. Sometimes I get this reoccurring thought that tells me, you know, I will beat myself up and tell myself I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
So whenever I made a mistake, I'll never forget this, you know, when my wife left me in 2018 because of me. And, you know, I just didn't feel worthy to preach. I didn't feel worthy to teach. A lot of people didn't know this. And I remember I called a pastor, Tim. So I said, Tim, I just don't feel worthy. I just want to quit. Monty tell you, I packed up my office. I packed up everything. And I just was like, I'm gone. I left. Man, he's like, Pastor, it was like white in the joke. Desk clean, everything gone.
Yeah.
And I remember calling Tim and I said, you know, I don't feel worthy. He said, you never was worthy. And I said, huh? He was like, it was Christ that always qualified you, and he never stopped qualifying you. You disqualify you. He still qualify you. And I was like,
That just hit me.
I had to get back up there. I had to get back up there and keep going hurt. And it's funny because I had ordered a book, and the book took a whole year to come in the mail, but it came in at the right time, and it was called Preaching While Wounded.
Wow.
I was getting mad at the person who I ordered it from. Like, man, send me my book. You know what I'm saying? And I had forgot all about it, but it came exactly at the right time that I needed because I was wounded during that time.
Yeah. Man, that's tough, man. All right, so look. Many men feel church isn't beneficial for them.
Isn't?
Isn't. Like, I think we see, you correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like we see more women in church than men. Why do you believe that is?
Because I believe a lot of men have commitment issues. I'll just being honest. I think a lot of men have commitment and accountability issues, which is the core of responsibility.
Right. So going to church, when I was younger, my mother used to take us to church. I've never, it makes all the sense in the world because they tried to make me as a kid, they wanted to make me be one of the junior ushers or something. right. And I ain't want to do it. I'm like, man, no, I'm not doing this corny stuff.
Right.
And they should maybe do it one day. Right. And all of a sudden now I'm part of the usher board and this and that. And I was like, you supposed to be an usher like once a month. Right. And so I was like, I ain't going back to church. But I didn't see any purpose in doing it. To me, I was never a fan of like tradition, rituals and all that. I was never a fan of any of that. Like church used to irritate my soul because it was a Baptist church too.
No,
And so I was like, man, I'm not going back. And so I like rebelled at like 10 years old, 10, 11 years old. I was like, man, I'm not going back to church. And then that was it for me. And so even as a youngin', which we gonna go back to, I know I had commitment issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
The strange thing is I've never had commitment issues with women. I just had commitment issues with everything else.
I had commitment issues with women. I remember. Go ahead.
Nah, go ahead. You start saying that.
I'm just saying. I remember standing on a basketball court one day, right on Sheriff Road, telling all them dudes, "Y'all some suckers. Y'all let these women do da 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 da. I never get married. I never get married." Probably like 2-3 years later,
Married.
Hey,
well, who knows what God gonna do?
But
Change it that quick.
It was through my commitment to God that I learned to be committed to a woman.
Yeah.
And so I believe a person first have to be committed to God, because I think that's where you're going to learn the essence of what commitment is.
Yeah.
Is through Him.
I think I had I've never had problems like with being in a relationship, but I think I ran from it because I seen women. Well, I can't even say women, we was teenagers. But I seen girls do my men dirty, and then one of my girls cheated on me, and I was like, hey, it's no point of this.
That first heartbreak is a doozy, man.
I ain't even love her though. Like, she made herself my girl.
Well, I loved her. At least what I thought love was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Crushed my whole little heart. Still mad on Valentine's Day. It's like, no, I'm just mad. Nah.
What kind of this just came out of note. What does your wife do for you spiritually?
Pray for me.
She prays for you.
She prays for me. Yes, she's definitely. People don't know this about Tasha, but Tasha can really pray.
Yeah.
She just don't like doing stuff in front of people. But
She ain't a public prayer.
Yeah, she ain't. You try to pull her in front of she going. Yeah, but she can pray. She can definitely pray, man. And
I feel like I don't even like saying this because it bothers me because I know our position. I feel like there's more women who are like more spiritual than men in our community and our society.
Because they're more of nurturers. I think
all right, good. So it ain't just me. That's
no, because
like
they're more of nurturers, and I understand that they tend to be closer to. And it's just my opinion and what I've seen over the year. Because of that nurturing aspect, I believe that they are more intimate with God. They're more sensitive to the leading of God.
You hitting on something. You hitting on. All right, good, because we about to go into that whole family thing too, right? But look, I heard.
Swig of water.
I heard my man. He ain't my man. What's the dude name? I never could get his name right. Begin with a V. Dark skinned dude, big dude. It's like Vody something.
Vody Bokum.
I think
Vody Bokum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never could never say it. He said
Vody.
I heard him say this, and it is something that stuck with me. He was like priest, prophet, provider, protector. He said that's what every husband should be, or every man should be: a priest, a provider, a prophet. Well, I want to say it in order: a priest, prophet, a provider, protector. Can one be a head of household without any of those things?
Can one be the head? Well, it depends on how do you define head.
All right, how do you define head?
He tried to switch. He switched it back.
Yeah. How do you define? All right. So what does it look like to be the head of a household? To be a true man, to be a leader of your household.
I believe it's one. It goes back to the beginning. One who truly seeks to serve God. I think if a man pressing now, like I said, now we will have to define what does a priest look like. Because the Baptist might look at a priest different than the Pentecostal.
All right, well, what does a priest look like to Mo? How does Mo?
The priest sacrifices.
How are you a priest of your own?
The priest sacrifices. That was the priest's main job. He was to set the sacrificial offering. So a priest that's why he said, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church." How did Christ love the church? He sacrificed.
Yeah.
So that's how I would look at the priest, as the one who sacrificed, and that's. It's funny because I think that's an ongoing process of us dying to self, because I don't want to die.
Yeah.
I'm just being real.
But why did he sacrifice?
He sacrificed so that we would have that relationship with the Father. He sacrificed for the sins and for relational, so we can be one with the Father again.
So the priest of the home is sacrificing himself for the sake of the wife and the children being right with God.
Yeah. Yes. Which is not. I remember that's one thing I had to learn. When 2018, I learned a lot of, like, I had got a lot of revelation, because I will always read that scripture, love your wife as Christ loved the church. But the question is, how did Christ love the church?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's where you learn about sacrifice. So I'm the type, especially men, it's funny, as I talk to men, and most men had this issue. If we are right, we will fight you tooth and nail, because we know that we are right. But Christ, he knew that he was right, yet he still died for sinners, those who was wrong. So he's saying, so what God began to show me, even though you may know you right for some things, you need to die so that she may live. You need to become wrong, because he became sin for us on our behalf.
He became wrong. He became,
So become wrong, even though you're right, which was hard for me to grasp this.
Yeah, I know somebody will listen to this and be like, man, it's hard for me to grasp.
It's still hard for me to grasp. But, you know, but as I become wrong so that she may live, then it draws her closer to Christ. Because I believe that on this earth, that the husband will be the priest that she gets to see. But does she see me sacrifice? And she needs to see me sacrifice. Because my thing is this. I believe that my wife has a relationship with God. And because I believe she has a relationship with God, when she see me sacrifice, she'll see love in that point, and God will begin to show her or deal with her heart on certain matters.
Yeah.
That's just what I believe.
Yeah.
What I've seen
What
and
you've seen,
experienced. You know, and another thing, he was led like a lamb to the slaughter. Silent. And that's the one thing that's big for me, because I will run my mouth when I know I'm right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I will have to have the last word, you know. And he's like, all right, keep your mouth shut. Like a lamb led to the slaughter, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
And that's hard. It's hard to say. It happened to me this morning. It's funny we talk about this. It happened to me this morning. She told me that my delivery was wrong. You know, you could have delivered something you said to me in a better way. And I was like, and I just listened. I said, and I sat there. Normally I would have a response and flip it and say, well, if you wouldn't have, you know. And so what ends up happening is I sat there, didn't say nothing. And then I hear the Holy Spirit go back upstairs, apologize for your delivery. I apologize for my delivery. And, you know, and I said, not only did I offer apology, I offered what I need to do to correct it the next time. And I just left it there. And then the day went at least well for me. You know, I called her back. By the fact, I called her back just before coming here, and she was like, she cool, everything good.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So we know, you explain how to be the priest of the household, right? I mean, I guess prophet has a little
of both, a little priest in it. Is that what you're saying?
I think if you're the priest of your home, like
the
you
prophet,
will be a prophet.
I believe, is like a visionary.
That's what I was. Well, we gonna get to the vision.
Okay.
But we here now. But do you believe every man should have a vision for his family?
Yes, I do believe that men, if you don't have one going in, you should want to get one.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, because of the way society is, we might even not know to even have a vision.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you never had a father with a vision. You know, and for me, you know, I don't know. I really don't know if my father had a vision for his family. Yeah. I think he had. I think a lot of times we have a vision for our life and not for our family.
Yeah, I think, man, that's powerful. You said that, because I'm not married. I try to stay out of married affairs and everything. Unless God give me something, like I don't want to put my mouth on your affair, like you, because I don't want you to be like, man, I knew I should listen to this nigga AJ. He ain't married. He ain't never been married. He ain't got no girlfriend. So I'd be trying to stay out of it. But one thing I'd always said was, if you're gonna be head of the household, you're gonna lead your wife and your family. What are you leading them to? Like, that's why I was like, you have to have some kind of vision or purpose. We had spoke about, you know, for your marriage or something, like, or else where you say the blind lead the blind, they both fall in the ditch. Like,
I think the least you can do, and that's it's fun. I'm glad you said it, because one of my sayings is, a visionless man will produce a blind woman. You know, because I believe that a woman comes to alongside to help the husband with the vision. But if he doesn't have a vision, she can't help. And I think that's where the frustration becomes in, because what she'll do, and it's natural for her, is give that man a vision.
Yeah. Is that dangerous?
That's very dangerous, because that's where the heads begin to clash. Because now she's going to make a vision for him that may not be the vision that he has for himself.
Yeah.
You know, and for the family. And I think, and let me say this, I do believe that she should come alongside and help. It's natural, innate in her, and he should get her input. But at the end of the day, I think they come together as one, give the input. But at the end of the day, I think it still lies on him to push forward in the main vision.
All right, so I was about to ask, what is woman's responsibility in this world? But
yeah, I believe women are helpmeets. I believe they are helpmeets. I mean, a lot of women may not agree, because we got this new society that says that, we both heads, or I'm the head. Why can't a woman be the head? So I think everything, I'm basing this off of my belief system. Now, I believe if you don't believe in God, then if that's what works for you, that's what works for you if you don't believe. But for me, in my household, that's all I can speak on, is that we believe in the word of God. So if we believe in the word, I think, and thank you, Father. I think a lot of times what happens is this: if a man doesn't have a personal vision, he still should have a general vision, which you can get from the word of God for your family and your household.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't have a personal vision at that point, at least you still have this model or this structure, whatever you want to call.
Yeah.
That like Jesus gave the model prayer, you'll have that model vision for your family, the husband, the wife, the children should look like based on the word of God.
I say this often, like, I don't believe everybody has this grand calling or whatever, right?
That's true.
And so, and I always use this analogy, and I could be wrong, but I always use it. We know Martin Luther King Jr. We don't know Martin Luther King Sr. But I always just say Martin Luther King Sr.'s purpose could have just been raising his son in the admonition of the Lord.
Yes, that's real.
And it does, doesn't mean you have to be ministering to a whole bunch of men, young boys, or whatever. Your purpose in God could just be to raise up
to minister
your
to
child.
that one. Yeah.
And so, and I think a lot of us, we look like, especially when you hear about vision and purpose, people will just go all the way there with it. Like, it has to be something big.
Grandiose.
I gotta have impact.
Yeah.
Man, I talked to this one dude, and God checked me on it. This was recent, probably a couple months ago. My man I work with, and I was like, "Hey, Tyree, you never what did you say you wanted to do when you was a kid, when you grow up?" He was like, "I ain't never have an answer for it." And so I was like, "So you never had no dreams or visions you wanted to do something?"
Police. I became a criminal.
I think we needed police. I think we needed them.
But go ahead.
I own. But he never had vision, never had a dream, and I was flabbergasted. I was like, "So you just going with the flow, huh?" I was saying it like trying to make him feel a certain way about it. He was like, "Yeah."
He still was going with the flow.
So he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Dang, God, what's up with that?" Like,
that's real.
But this man been married to his woman for what, over 20 some years.
Wow.
Got 6 kids.
Wow.
None by no other woman or nothing or anything. So I'm like, man, some people's job is just to just to raise up their kids. And his father, he followed his father's footsteps. Father had 6 boys.
Oh. Okay.
So I was like, all right, well, maybe everybody ain't supposed to.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
All right, so look, I know both of us, we were raised by our mothers.
Yeah.
For different circumstances, right? What kind of effect does that have on us being sons?
What do you mean when you say what kind of effect?
So we know what fatherless families done to our society and our culture and everything. But how does it affect us when it comes to being sons? Like, how can we be better sons? So, for instance, I know with my father dying at a young age, I'm not a mama's boy. I was never a mama's boy.
I was a mama's boy, but go ahead.
So good. So we got two different perspectives on it.
Yeah.
I was never a mama's boy, and So my mother always would cling to me as a kid, but I was never clinging to her. I always had like a reverence for men, like wanted to be around men and boys and everything. And so me and my mother, we never had that real tight relationship until after I came to Christ. So I can honestly say like I was a terrible son.
It's vice versa for
my
me.
mother.
When I came to Christ, we didn't have a tight relationship.
Dang.
So it was like before Christ. Well, let me say this. I think for me, I stopped having a tight relationship with my mother when I started selling drugs. And then when I came into Christ, I was radical. And that was just too much for because my background, my mother, our family, that side of the family, I grew up around card tables and smoking and drinking and men going in and out of the house. So I was the little kid on the Dorito commercial. Don't touch my mama, don't touch my Doritos. You know what I'm saying? And so, but that played an effect on me. For me, what really got me is I couldn't trust women because my mother was the first woman, and you probably heard me say this before, my mother was the first woman I learned to distrust. Because as a kid, I think kids innately I knew my father, and I knew who my father was, and I knew who my mother was, and I innately wanted them to be together. Like no man could be around my mother but my father in my eyes. Yeah. So when I seen other men, I'll be the little kid, and my mother sitting, I'm sitting right on the couch in between them. Right? And so I became jealous over my mother. Like if another man, like if she was with my father, I'm good. Yeah. But any other man that try to come around my mother, I will be jealous of it.
Man, I think that is like I don't even know what the word to use. It's like a powerful sentiment because that's something innate in us because that's what it's supposed to be.
I didn't know that though.
That's why I'm saying that right there, because as a child you don't know that, but it's something in you that's saying like this is what it's supposed to be. Like that should be convicting on the parent when they see that.
Yes. Yeah, but I don't think because of her upbringing, everything is broken down because she lost her mother at a young age. Yeah. So, and her father, see, when I went, I had a lot of anger towards my mother until I began to find out the backstory. I had a lot of anger towards my father until I began to find out the backstories of how they became who they became. Yeah. Not justifying it, but we don't know how trauma affects people when they've been through stuff. So just to find out that my mother lost her mother when she was 12 years old. My grandfather, he bounced back by getting other women. But so they were pretty much left to raise themselves at a young age. So she's a young mother. She had me when she was 18. You feel what I'm saying? And so it's like she did the best she knew how to do. And so coming up, my mother we wasn't in the church. We wasn't into Bible and all that. We gambled and drank on Sunday, and that was church. I'm just, just to be real with you.
Nah, I get it.
And what she did for me, she felt as though she had to buy my love. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? So, because she felt guilty, because I do believe it was a part of her that did feel guilty about what she was exposing me to and how we were living. So her thing is to reach this young man or to reach this boy, I'm just going to buy him stuff or give him stuff. Yeah. Which that didn't work. Because when you got older, what built our relationship, I can now get myself when I start hustling. So now what happens to the relationship? Yeah.
So I had... Man, that's tough. Yeah, my relationship with my mother was, like I said, I feel bad. I feel bad for it as an adult because I'm like, man, I like neglected my mother of so much love, especially with all that she has done for me. I think I shared with y'all before. That's how I came to Christ. God was showing me how much I hurt my mother and how much she loved me regardless, and was showing me like this is the love that I have for you.
And it's funny when you say that. It reminded me of a letter I wrote my mother when I got saved about apologizing for all the hurt I had put her through. Yeah. Yet and still, we still wasn't close because I'm still living for Christ. And I remember she came out to the church I was going to because she thought I was in a cult. Like literally, she
Yeah.
like, what is this? You like my son has did this dramatic change, and I don't recognize him anymore.
Yeah.
Because a lot, and this is what I found just with people in general. A lot of times, she wanted the person that she can relate to and who can relate to her, even if it was a dysfunctional relationship.
Yeah.
A dysfunctional relating is what she knew. That's how she knew me.
Yeah.
And so now this new person, she can't relate to no more. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I'm changing, but she's still where she's at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I remember a year before she died, matter of fact, the beginning of that year, God had told me, you need to talk to your mother more. Because when she would call me, like I would literally, and just be honest, I would cringe on when I seen her number.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was always a problem. She called me when there was a problem. But when things were going good, she just didn't call me just to talk. She called me to say, this is going wrong, this ain't right, this ain't. So I became the fixer, so to say. I had to come in and fix it. But then that made me cringe, because when I look and would see the number, I was like, oh man, another
Don't wanna
problem.
answer it.
I don't want to deal with the problem.
Yeah.
But God had told me, you start calling her more and going to see her more and reaching out. And towards the end, we begin to get a tighter bond before she passed. It's almost like God, I didn't know she was going to pass, but God knew she was going to pass.
You know, man, you saying that, it made me think, like my mother, and it's the same thing. God had to show me this with my mother. So I asked her why you didn't get another man, you know, to help raise your boys. And she was telling me I didn't trust because of stuff going on. She's like, I ain't trust nobody around my sons.
That's powerful.
And what I realized, because my mother she would call me whenever she wants something, if there's an issue or anything, right? But what I realized is, because one day I got into an argument with my mother. It wasn't really an argument. I don't really try to argue with him. Like she's arguing with me, and I was just talking back to her. And what I realized is my mother looked at me as her protector.
You became a little boyfriend. In a sense.
Yeah.
I see a lot of women that do that, though.
Yeah.
They turn their sons into...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the closest man to her.
Right.
And she knows, like, if she calls on me, AJ will get it done, or he'll find out. He'll come through this.
Right.
And because
you was responsible.
This day, yeah. Till this day, I don't cringe, but when she called, like, God dang, what is it now?
You're right.
And I like, Mom, what's up? And it'll be something simple. I know it's probably preparing me for my wife.
Yes.
Because she used to call. My mother used to work all the way in Georgetown. I might be minding my business in Upper Marlboro somewhere.
Oh, man.
She said, AJ, can you go to PG and pick me up some food and bring it to work? I'm like,
for
you
real?
got to be kidding me.
Yeah, he preparing you to get married.
I was like, you got it. You want me to come from Upper Marlboro to PG Mall to try to enjoy? I said, Mom, the food going to be cold.
Yeah.
She said, don't worry about it, AJ. Don't worry about it. I'm like,
oh, man, you getting prepared.
Nah,
that's a woman for you. I just do it myself.
She like, don't worry about it. I'll just order something. I'm like, I got you, Mom. Dang.
And speaking, because that's what a part of the sacrifice is about.
Yeah.
Because now I have to sacrifice my time. Because that would irritate me about Tasha. Yeah. Because one of my biggest thing is, don't interrupt my time.
Yeah.
If I got my stuff planned, I got my agenda planned, and here you come at the last minute, can you stop past such and such and pick up such and such for me?
Yeah.
And that will burn me up. But God had to start showing me even that. Your time your time don't even belong to you no more.
It's the same thing, man.
Because what happens is, she would start to resent, or she'll feel that energy.
Yep.
Even if I say, all right, she'll feel that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said I was all right, I'm good. But she didn't it was like, but you make it seem like it's such an inconvenience.
Yeah. She wants you to want to do it for her.
There it is right there.
Yeah. She doesn't want it to be a problem that you're doing for your wife.
Yeah. So I had to change my, and I'm still learning this. I ain't saying I got it down. To change my energy.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? Even you could say the right words with the wrong energy.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Nah, it makes perfect sense. So we talking about the both not having our fathers, right? Do you believe not having, I'm not gonna say a father, I'm gonna say an effective father.
That's good.
In your life, in man's life, in any boy's life, would keep them from being able to embody the position of a son? Like being a complete son.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going somewhere with this.
I believe. I mean, if you're not able to be a complete son, you're not able to be a complete father.
That's where I was going with that too. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was some things, it was some little petty things and ways that I had that God had to show me was like, this, you operating in a little boy. Like you riding a fine line of being a teenage girl with the way that you acting and responding to these things. And he was like, that's not what a man is. I was 26 years old at the time. He said, this is not what a man is. And you want to be a man, but you calling your mother, asking your mother, can she co-sign on your truck? And then when she tell you no, you
Right.
get in your feelings about it. He's like, why don't you go get the truck yourself? And I'm like, God, she co-signed on about 17 of my brother cars.
Why he can't? I'm just asking for one.
I paid. Yeah, like I handled all my business while I get
right.
Yeah, she know I'm good. You can refinance it in 2 years or something and
Right.
get off of it. He was like, and now you going back and forth with me. Like, like you know better than me. Like,
That's
all right.
real.
And so, and I really had to just, I don't even want to say swallow my pride, because it ain't. I don't know if that was pride, but it was more so of me just being immature, me being childish. And he was like, "Grow up. Like if you
I
can't
think
get
that's
it,
part
then
of
you
being
can't
the
get it."
mama's boy, though, because that was me. That was part of being the mama's boy. That she would co-sign for me.
Yeah.
She and not just co-sign for a car, but she would even co-sign my messed up and dysfunctional behavior.
Oh, she would not do that for me.
You feel what
I
I'm saying?
wish.
'Cause- and that was the thing, because I think she feared losing me.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, I'm an only child.
Oh, yeah.
So not only was I mama's boy, but I was a only child for
Yeah.
her.
You was all she had. You was her everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Dang. So what?
it just changed a whole different question, didn't it? Say
Nah, because I want to understand, like, because we all growing up as adults still have some little boy in us.
Yeah.
Women still have some little girl in them that they need to deal with. And I was really God, because 2 years, was it 2000, what's this, 22?
Mm-hmm.
So 2020 or 2019, I believe, he was saying it's time to know me as father.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's where these son questions come in. Like, I felt like for a long time, I felt like I'm not being a good son.
Mm-hmm.
And so not having my father, losing my father at an early age, it really, I didn't have the presence of an effective, authoritative, loving man. And it just hit me today when I was driving to work. I was listening to that song, Great Is Your Faithfulness, the little,
Donnie McClurkin, John?
nah, it's Maverick City, John.
Oh, okay.
And it made me think about it.
He from two different eras. I remember
It
the
is.
old Donnie Clark.
I remember the Donnie McClurkin John too. Their John, it's not called Great Is Your Faithfulness, but that's just the yeah. But it had me thinking about it, because I was worshiping, I was crying to God, and it made me think about my position as a son. And you just said something. You was like, if you can't be a good son, it's gonna be tough for you to be a good father. And what I never experienced, like God just checked me on everything. Like he checked me on everything. Even he told me to leave my father's house. And it was leave all the stuff that I'm trying to search about my father, everything I'm trying to find his father and that side of the family. He was like, if I changed your name and I gave you a new identity, why you keep going back trying to do this? Like he would not have been anywhere close to as good as a father as I am.
Right.
And when I'm listening to that song, it says, "Great is your faithfulness." Like I've never got to experience somebody. God is this in perfection. That's authoritative, loving, and completely faithful to you and everything. And so not having a father, I've never had a man in my life that would have been complete. Your father will, an effective one that loves you, he'll always be faithful to you while he's raising you up and everything, like because he loves you, he wants to see you better. And I think that's something a lot of us are missing. And it's just that love of a man, for you to say that this man was faithful to me. I think that imparts something on us as boys.
I definitely believe that, but you know what I had to find out is he sent me fathers.
Yeah.
He did. I wanted it from my biological, but he sent me fathers, and that father and the father of Devon Cloud, he made, like I said, back to the Builder Bear again. He sent me different aspects of different men. So this man probably didn't have where he could teach me about money, but he can teach me about faithfulness.
Yeah.
And so that's what I grabbed out of this man. You know, like the last man who really fathered me was Pastor Glenwood. You feel what I'm saying? And he gave me a different aspect of really that next level of sacrifice, you know, that a father would take. And then he demonstrated that in his life with his boys, just knowing where he came from and the sacrifice he made to really keep his family together. Like a lot of people may not know that. And it's like, wow, I don't know if I could make that sacrifice, but I can't say that I don't have an example of a man who sacrificed on a whole different level to keep his family together. Yeah. And so I believe that God sent us fathers along the way, you know, different men who can give us those characteristics that we need. Let me just say that.
Man, it's tough because when I think back, I think my uncle on my father's side, my father's sister husband. So he's not even blood related to me. But after my father died, he used to always like take me to the racetrack and everything. He would go out his way to come pick me up and everything, and you know, just spend time with me because I now I'm realizing he knew what I was missing in my life. But whatever happened with him and my aunt, they ended up getting separated and everything, and so you know, you really don't see him anymore.
But he did his part for the time
being. Yeah. And you know, he was pouring love into me and everything. But that's another thing where it's like I never got to experience somebody that was always faithful to me. Like how God is always faithful to us regardless of what we do, even when we turn our back to him. He's always still there whenever we want to come back or whatever. And not only is he still there, he's always reaching out. He's always like, look, I still want you to get up. I still want you back. Like I as men, well, as boys, it's a lot of us just never experienced that from consistent men.
Yeah, or
like,
tangible. I mean, we know we get it from God, but it's something about having that tangible love, that tangible faithfulness, that tangible, you know, whatever it may be that we need, accountability, faithfulness, whatever we need in our life. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That tangible authority figure. You know, that tangible protector.
That's why I was even now as adults, like, because like I said, we all still got that little boy, that little girl in us. Like it made me question today, like, how can I be a better son today? And I'm gonna tell you why, because of two things. My devotional this morning, I was doing a little devotion on the Bible app, and this dude was talking. He said, he told his father, he said, "I love you," and his father said, "Really?" He said, "Because you don't act like it." Wow. And what I heard, so I'm just gonna be real. So what I heard was, because this is where my conviction comes from, was definitely from God. Like I want to be perfect on a consistent basis. I know it's not gonna happen, but I'm like, God, because I pray like, let sin hurt me like it hurt you. So when I do mess up, I'm like, come on, man, God, it can't. Why? I know it's him keeping me humble and everything. But then even when I look at it in physical aspect in this tangible realm, like just being real, I look at it like my relationship with you, because just being what it is, you would be the one who fathered me in this walk. And I was like, damn, I believe like I definitely was not the best son.
I wasn't the best father. You know, and what got me was, it was 2018. It's like I had this epiphany, like God just did a lot with me, because what I suffer from, like you said, every man got the little boy, every girl got every woman got the little girl. I had never dealt with my rejection and abandonment issues that came from as a kid, because as a kid, like my mother was an alcoholic. So as the child of an alcoholic, I struggled with rejection issues. You know what I'm saying? I never felt fully accepted and fully loved, because that's just when I went and did studying on it, most children of alcoholics, they struggled with that.
Well, you
know,
with rejection
and so rejection. So as I got older, that little boy that was still fighting for to be accepted was still there. So anytime as an adult I felt rejected by somebody, it would cause this fight or flight type of response. You know what I'm saying? So
Man, I heard. So when the young lady I used to deal with, and she said God had revealed this to her when she felt like I was about to leave or something. Her default response was to try to beat me out the door, try to
Yep.
And I was like, that doesn't even make sense to me.
Not to you.
Yeah, but hearing you say these things, I'm just like, dang. I guess that is like a real thing. Like I guess you're trying to protect yourself from the hurt or whatever. So I guess this hurt is not going to hurt as much as
right. So now you choose, like they say, choose the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Like you said, if I choose this evil, I can work with this. I can manage this one.
Yeah.
But I can't manage the other one.
Man, that's tough, man. I hear a lot of dudes, man, these days. Just dealing with men, you could see the little boy in a lot of them, and I don't really know how to deal with them. Like, cause I've always dealt with my peers, and we always just grown together, and some of it just outgrown each other. So I really don't, cause I'm still dealing with the little boy in me a lot of times.
I'm still dealing with the little boy.
So I don't really know how to deal with when that little boy rises up, and other men, I find myself like, look, man.
Right.
Like you got at some point in time, you got to grow up. Like man up. This is what it is. This is what we got to deal with. Like how do you deal with such men when you see that, like that immaturity, like you acting childish, like you're not even being rational.
It's funny because that happened with I had to have a conversation with somebody today dealing with that area of validation that they never got as a kid.
Yeah.
So they searching for it as an adult, and just to be able to sit down and talk to them, and it seemed like they still not getting it. They still trying to validate.
Yeah.
Even in real time as I talk to them, and I'm just learning. I'm learning more and more about patience.
Yeah.
And just learning. I'm learning to be patient. Learning that I'm remembering God. What God do with me is help me remember that I'm still in the process.
Yeah.
So I think everybody, and remembering that everybody is at different places in their process.
Yeah.
And so you do much as you can, and then at some point I do believe you do set boundaries. Meaning if they are to a point where it's just so toxic that it's just spilling over and it's wounding you, you have to be able to. And I had to tell somebody today, the door will always be open, but the access won't always be the same.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Until they get to a place where they're able to demonstrate, not saying that I'm perfect, but I do believe you have to protect the level of your mental and emotional capacity.
You have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Man, I see dudes, man, that's operating in that little boy, and you could tell like they want to forgive. I can't count how many times I've seen this. Like when people get reconciled with their fathers or whatever, and they already adults. Like I've seen fathers say like, I don't know how do I be a father to him? And he's already a grown man.
Yeah,
he's already 30, 40, 50 years old or whatever. And then I've seen sons that says, you can't be a father to me, but you could be a grandfather to your grandchildren. For some reason, that just doesn't sit right with me. I'm like, that man is still your father. Like
no matter what.
He still can be.
Yes.
You're hurt because you missed this for these amount of years and everything. And so now you're saying there's nothing he can do for you. Now, granted, you don't get those years back, but I still think that there's a void that your biological father, whoever it is, that he can still feel.
Yes.
Like how can a man deal with that?
I could just give you my story on that. I'm glad you brought that up. I could just give you my story on that. I was 33 years old. I remember this. Me and my father was beefing. We was beefing real heavy. And at this time, I couldn't give my oldest son, he needed a certain level of affection. He was a very affectionate child. Taj was like super nice, super outgoing, super like sensitive. He would like to want to crawl up and like lay on my chest. Even as like a 4 or 5 year old, he just was like, and I'm like, get off me. In my mind, I'm like, don't be soft, you know. But the reality was, I didn't realize that I never had got that from my father. I never got the affectionate side of my father. And so when I'm like 33 years old, I remember we was just beefing. We hadn't speak. My father, I was telling somebody today, my mother was the type, she'd forgive you over and over and over, give you the shirt off her back. And but my father, you can do something one time to him, and he'd look at you and say, "You dead to me."
Yeah.
And live it out, literally. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember going over his house, sitting down with him. We ended up making up. And like as we sitting here now, you know, he's on his computer. He always sitting in front. I could just remember him. He's sitting in front of this computer, and he reach over and he just like start rubbing me. I'm like, oh, this dude rubbing me all on my back like that.
Nay.
And I remember God saying, "This is what you always wanted. You was that little boy who didn't get the affection that he needed from his father."
Yeah.
And that did open something up in my life. Like he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
But God knew what I needed. And so he gave it to me in that time, which actually helped me to become more open, even with Zay, giving him hugs. Because I didn't grow up in a family where we gave each other hugs. We didn't tell each other we loved each other. It just was like, it's known, but it was never expressed or said in any type of way from my father, nor my mother.
How's that exemplified with your oldest now?
Me and him good now. We tell each other before we get off the phone, "I love you, man. I
Yeah.
love you." We have real deeper conversations, you know. Yeah, I mean, me and Zay, we hug each other. I mean, that's my man there. Taj, that's my man there. You know, me and my daughter, we crack heads though. That's my
man.
girl, but I think out of all my children, me and her the most alike.
That's why y'all going at it the most.
Yup,
Yeah.
yup. But that's still
Man.
my girl though.
I know that. Like, I feel that. Like, that hurts. I don't have any children,
Yeah.
but I got like 100,000 goddaughters.
Right.
And like, and I like can't tell them no. You can't. You just feel for them.
Yeah.
And so when you tell me like we crack heads, it makes me feel
And what I
a
mean-
certain way. Like I feel that like
And what I mean by that, we still cool, we still that, but a lot of things we just
yeah.
we so I've learned, and I'm learning to, you see, you know what? Don't be so forceful with your way of thinking.
Yeah.
Let her go through, because one of the hardest things is to be a father is to know your kids are on a crazy road and to be able to sit back and say, I have to let them go down this road.
Let them figure it out.
That's why I believe God was a man.
Only a man can make that.
Only a man
Yeah.
can allow his son to go to the cross. A woman, she ain't gonna allow,
She
not
ain't.
my baby.
Yeah.
I'm just being real with you. And
Yeah.
so, but one of the hardest things is to allow your children to go make some decisions that you know after you done sit there and you done told them 1,000 times, but they still bent on making the decision that they want to make. And I don't care what age, because I always tell people, you never stop being a parent, no matter how old you are, and no matter how how old they are, and how, you just never stop being a parent.
Yeah.
You
Even though you know, like, this is going to hurt them.
Yeah.
You can't always, sometimes protecting them from it
Or
is
shoot.
letting them go through it
Yes.
so that they can learn. Yeah, that's
Yes.
tough.
Yeah.
That's hard. All right.
What else you got on that page?
I got,
Oh, he got 2 pages.
I got a little bit more.
No.
I got a little bit more. No. But, all right, so help me out. I want to take a walk through, like, more maturing. Like, the how I put this? The evolution of your thought process. Like, coming from a teenage boy to becoming a man to having a son to getting married, like
All of it was through experience. I don't think there's no book to really teach you how to become a father, a husband. I think, you can get foundational truths or certain tools, but I
Yeah.
think it's going to be different for each person. But I do believe in reading. And main thing that helped me is being around other men who are doing it and have been doing it. And one thing, like I said, I had fathers like if it wasn't, and I have to give like these men like Darah Cloud, John Davis, these two men literally walked me through some very crucial years in my marriage.
Yeah.
You know, and if it wasn't for them pouring into my life, I believe every man needs another man in their life. I
100%.
truly believe that.
All the
and
time.
every woman needs another woman in her life who's been. It's just like business. If you about to go embark on a new business, wouldn't you try to get around people who already doing that business to pick their brain?
Yeah.
To feel so, you know, if you whatever you may decide to do to see, well, how did you start this? Where do you go for this? What happens when this occurs? You know?
Did you do that when becoming a father?
No. I can answer that before you even. I didn't know to do it.
So was your thought process the same? So how old were you when you had your first son, your oldest?
How old was 96? I'm 47. What is that? He was born in 96. I can't even.
I'm usually good with math, but my mind is on
I know an easier way to do it.
There you go. What's this, 22?
How do you do that? 96, what is it?
That's about what, 26 years
40,
or something?
Hold on. You say
21?
Yeah, 21.
Yeah.
21.
So
21.
Did your thought process change? All right, so like for example, you go from being, you know, young dude doing what you doing out in the streets, getting money, messing with women, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a son.
Mm-hmm.
Did something click?
No.
And so you kept on.
I kept on messing with women, selling drugs, getting money.
Do you think that had an effect on
Yes.
your son at the time when he was being born? When he was born?
Yes. I mean, because I did it. He was at an age where he seen me cutting coke up.
Yeah.
He seen me doing these things. I was dysfunctional around him.
If he didn't see you doing those things,
Do I think?
like say you was operating like that when you got your woman pregnant, and then when he was born,
Mm-hmm.
you was like, I'm done. Do you think it would have still had the same effect on him?
I don't know. To be honest, I think I don't know. I want to say no. I don't think it would have the same effect. I mean, let me rethink about that. Do I think it would have had an effect if I would have changed?
If so, this is my thought. This is just how AJ think.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm big, like I want my sons. I want my wife and I want my sons. If God give me a daughter, I take one, maybe two. But I want my sons.
Right.
And I always thought like this, like I have to be when we know each other, I have to be right at that moment because I don't want to pass something on in the seed.
I didn't know that I needed to be right.
That's what I'm saying. Do you believe that though? Like you could pass something on with whatever you operating in at that time?
Yes, because I was at my highest level of dysfunction.
Yeah.
You know, during that time, I'm young, I'm dumb, I'm getting money, I'm buying cars, I'm flying, I'm just doing a whole bunch of stuff at a young age, and I'm angry.
Yeah.
I'm angry, I'm insecure. And so he's seen that level of me, and I'm getting high.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm blowing weed around him. I'm like at the highest level of dysfunction.
Yeah.
You know, and I do believe that affected him in some type of way. It wasn't until I was invited, because he was in the Montessori program. You know, you can put kids in this Montessori program, and it wasn't until we went in there and they started asking parents what they do for a living. And it's like it hit me at a ton of bricks. Like, man, I'm a drug dealer.
It made you feel ashamed.
Yeah, I felt bad. I didn't, and by this time, God is sending signs to me. Like, dude, come to me and say, "You're a good dude, but if you keep staying in this life, something, you know." When I'm looking back, I'm getting all these signs around this time, you know. And I remember one night. And it's something about when your kids are asleep and you just looking at them while they sleep and you just at peace. And I'm like, I gotta change. I gotta do something different. I can't keep living this life like this for him. And for the first time in my life, that's why I was like, God will give you tangible evidence sometimes. He will use something tangible to get us to change. And for me, he was a part of that tangible evidence or sign that God sent me to say, it's time for you to start changing.
That's the thought process. That's what I'm talking about right there when I'm talking about the evolution. So that clicked when you looked at him, you looking at him sleeping, and you seen a precious life that depended on you. And I'm guessing this is what you're saying, like his future is dependent on what I'm doing right now. Like this boy needs me, and I'm not being a good example. And even bigger than just being an example, like how I was saying when we was talking earlier, like if I'm doing something I ain't got no business doing, God sees.
Right.
So even whether he sees me or not, everything I'm doing is going to have some kind of effect on this boy,
whether directly or indirectly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so getting married. So you was a father before you was a husband.
Yeah.
So what changed after becoming a husband? So because this is, you correct me if I'm wrong, this is just what I'm thinking. So if I was to have a child, like now my first priority, whether I'm with the woman or not, this is just how AJ thinks. My first priority is going to be my child. But I believe when you get married, your first priority
is your wife.
Is to be your wife.
Yeah, it's to be your husband. Let me say that. Yeah.
I'm over here to be a husband. Your first priority is to be a wife.
Right.
But so I don't know if you held that sentiment when you had your son. Like, was he your first priority, or was your woman, was Tasha your first priority at the time?
My first priority literally was God.
I mean, before.
So what happened was I had a son, and then God came into my life. Like God, it was like this thing that was happening all simultaneously.
Yeah.
And then I got married after, because I started getting convicted.
Yeah.
About how I was just messing with all these different women, And then I got convicted, and I was like, God was just showing me. And then I had a mentor in life. Like one of my first mentors was a dude named Buddy. And Buddy, he's like, Mark, you got to get married. My biggest thing was, I'm married in my heart. And he's like, come on, Mark, you really, And so that's when, and then I kept getting that conviction, I have to keep having sex out of sex. Because before that, I didn't have no conviction. But then I started getting conviction, and I said, all right, for me, it's like, if I could not cheat, because I had never been faithful to no woman. I said, if I could not cheat for 1 year,
you gonna marry her?
I'm gonna marry her.
Well, I guess it's needless to say,
these girls came out of the woodwork to test that.
I guess because I wanted to get your thought process, like the evolution on the values, because you hitting on this stuff, like the values, your thoughts on love, commitment, and your desires. Like, how did your desires change becoming a father, becoming a husband?
He gave me a different desire. I didn't have these desires at first. I didn't have a desire. I didn't know how to be a father. I didn't choose to be a father. You feel what I'm saying? I didn't know how to be a husband. It was when I got all of that through Christ. And then even though I did it, I still didn't know how to do it. Meaning, even though I got married, I still didn't know how to be a husband.
Right.
If that made.
But you was committed, though. You knew you wanted to be committed.
I definitely knew I wanted to be committed.
Yeah.
I definitely knew that. I just didn't know how to be committed.
I think that's all that matters.
The
fact that because if you wanna be committed, if you wanna be there, you find it out.
Let me say this, because I never seen a committed man.
Yeah.
So all the dudes I knew was like I remember one of the first pieces of advice my father gave me. I was like 13, and this girl broke my heart, man. I was in love with her. He came to me, I'm crying, I'm upset. And he was like, Mark, you know that it's 15 women to every man?
No kind of consolation or nothing.
Right, yeah. I'm crying, I'm hurt over here.
Yeah.
And
like, why are you crying?
And he was dead serious. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like, he was dead serious, like, stop tripping off of this girl. Yeah. It's it's other fish in the
There's
sea.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. And so, that was one of the first pieces of advice. But I know I was going somewhere. But yeah, man. But yeah. So after I had to learn, and I'm still learning how to be a father, how to be a husband. I think that's a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
I honestly do. I think it's different levels because when I'm looking back and I'm 21 and Tasha's 20, when we got married, I was 23 and she was 22.
Yeah.
We were like literally babes.
Y'all were kids, yeah.
We were kids, So, and I think we just jumped into it, not really understanding what we were getting into.
Yeah.
Like we wanted it. It's like you had your why, but you didn't have your how.
Mm-hmm.
So we like why I want to please God. I want to do the right thing by God. I'm changing,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have a how.
Does anybody?
I think you can get that. I think you can really
you
get
got
your
to hit me.
how.
You got to hit me with
you,
this one.
You can get your how.
I'm trying
your
to figure
how
out.
is your tools on how to be a husband. And I think that's what I mean by when you get
Yeah.
around other men and women get around other women who are effectively doing this.
Yeah.
You'll learn, you'll get your how.
Yeah. Women who are, well, let me just speak about men. Men who are committed.
men,
Who
yeah.
who not going to quit.
And I
Yeah,
never
who
had
endure.
I never had those men around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
blessed.
saying?
I'm blessed to have them.
I mean, I
Yeah.
had the dudes they was cheating on their wives.
Yeah.
They would give me, they just say, look, man, dinner's better with a side piece. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is the type of advice and counseling that I had from me, and I couldn't fault. Looking back on it, I couldn't fault them. They only gave me what they had.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they meant well. I mean, I know they were coming from a good place, at least in their heart.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't good.
Right.
Yeah. It was a good place for them, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
See, I've never had commitment problems with women.
Okay.
But I think, because I remember you and Anwar was saying, like, I remember Anwar, when he was going to New York, he said,
Yeah.
well, you knew anybody that never cheated on a
Right.
woman. He was like, nah.
Nah. Yeah.
Which sounds crazy to me because he was like, only person he know is me and Joaquin that get in a relationship and be faithful. And it's crazy to me because I just can't, when I commit to something, I commit to it. Like that's where my focus goes. So I can't even be entertained by another woman. Like it just, for me, I don't know how that works. It just it don't click like that. It don't work like that. Like I would have to really separate myself from my woman.
Why do people cheat?
I don't. I mean, it's selfishness. I think that's.
I think it's a lot of it is unmet needs that never got dealt with.
Selfishness.
Yeah, I think, but I think they are legitimate needs, and I think what it boils down to, you got two selfish people who marry each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we at 22 and 23 when we got married, we is at the height of our selfishness.
What I say on the last episode, when you boyfriend and girlfriend, you got room for that selfishness, but when you husband and wife, it got to be complete selflessness because when you got to be 100% for her, she got to be 100% for you. Yeah. And I believe that most divorces, if not all divorces, happen because you wasn't all in for her, she wasn't all in for you. Somewhere, your reason for divorce is about you. It's not about her. It's like my needs not being met, or this happened, such and such. Instead of nobody's going into divorce saying I failed her, so I want a divorce.
Right. That's real. That's real. Yeah. That's real. That's real. I mean, and I think that's the key is I think the core marriage teaches you how to be selfless. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's gonna break yourself. I think every human is selfish.
Yeah.
I think we're born selfish.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can look at a kid. A kid can have a toy sitting in that corner that they ain't played with in 2 years, but as soon as another kid come along and start playing with that toy, my toy.
Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah, you know, and you ain't have to teach that kid how to be the kid can have some of the most givingest parents in the world. I think selfishness is something that has to be, let me say this.
Taught out of.
Yeah, taught out of, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so I went this way for a reason. I wanted to hit on the spirituality, the family. I wanted to hit, because we're going to hit on the character of a man also after we hit. But I wanted to paint a picture of what a man looks like in his faults and you did perfectly, what a man looks like in his faults and how a man could overcome those things, like how we should walk right now, right? And we seen how somebody could be, how long you been married now?
23 years in a row.
How many times you cheat on your wife?
None.
So we seen how a man could walk in infidelity, not married, and then go 23 years
straight. Not to say
straight.
that I ain't want to.
But it didn't happen though.
It didn't happen.
By the grace of God.
But
so it's and this is by a man who also said, I've never seen somebody who didn't cheat on a woman.
Right.
And so there is something in you that's like holding you together. There's something, your values change, your desires change, your level of commitment change. Like men don't have to stay weak men.
Nah,
Like we don't, it's not, because I know people that believe like people don't change. Like you are who you are, that's it. And
I'm laughing because I was talking to somebody who believed that today, and I felt like you feel people do change.
I do believe people. Yeah. I believe people can change if they want to change.
Yes.
And so, she in the text. Okay, you got it. Yes. Because I just wrote them. I just wrote up part of it.
I wanted to get to the text right now.
It ain't even that deep.
I'm just messing with y'all.
It was. She had said something about the voice of men, right? And I wanted to expose all of these weaknesses of men and that you can't overcome it.
That's a long text.
It's not. It ain't that bad. It ain't. 'Cause I'm gonna start. She said, "Oh man, what you? All right. Oh, I'm looking at this as if this is my phone. My bad. All right, so here it is. You're not someone anyone can call soft. It's like a man, a soft man or a feminine man. She's talking to me.
Okay.
And she's saying, you're a man who's able to express yourself. It's the part that I found I've been lacking in a lot of my relationships and something that I hope you can help other men cultivate. It's not a matter of them being heard more than a lot of men just aren't saying anything. And it's not that they don't have anything to say. A lot of men just lost the value of their voice. And she said, I'm not here to point any fingers on what caused that, but we need to get back to the days of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Medgar Evers, Khalid Muhammad, not necessarily in what they're saying or have said, but more of the fact that they were heard. Black men don't need to be silent. Black men almost have to speak. And it's what I admire about what you're doing in this podcast and blah, blah, blah. And so where I'm getting at is I feel like men, period, not even just black men, I think we lost the value of our voice and we don't have anything to say because too many of us aren't walking in the posture of a man to have something to say. But Joaquin used to say something that used to always make me laugh, but now I get it. And now I say the same thing, like everybody don't need to have an opinion. He said everybody should.
I feel him. Yeah.
And so, I, especially in my line of work, the guys I work in construction. So it's guys from all different walks, most of them, good 95, 97% of them immoral. And everybody got an opinion, and a lot of them agree with each other because they all on the same type of immoral nonsense. And so when she was saying like a lot of men don't know how to express themselves, I don't even think they should, because I believe it'll be more harmful to society than it would helpful.
I think let me say this. I think they should. And so when I say when I hear Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, I think every man should be able to express himself, but not on every platform.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Because I think we need to be able to, I think we grow through expression. And so it was a time I shouldn't express myself.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was through expressing ourselves on some type of platform that we learned.
Yeah.
And we grew to that place to be able to say, all right, God will elevate us to a platform to say, now, your voice can be heard.
Yeah.
Now you at a place where you can express a opinion, an idea, a thought, and it can help men versus keeping them in this foolery. Let me just.
Some of them don't want out. So I could, and you saying that my platform.
Some of them, you
with
right,
God-
don't want out.
Yeah, I want it out.
Right.
But the platform where God
what brought
allowed
you to
me,
that place, though?
God. So yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. My platform where I was able to express myself and speak was the Bible studies.
Right.
And what it did was break down
Yeah.
everything that I had that was wrong.
It
And
challenged you.
It challenged me.
Yeah.
And just doing life with you and Joaquin and with Anwar and with Mongo, doing life with men, like men who are 10, 12, 13 years older than me that already been through what I've been through and are walking this walk that I'm trying to walk. It helped me become a man. I don't even want to say a better man because I don't believe I was a man at that time. I was 21 years old. I was coming out of a gun charge. Folks that just got killed. I was going through a lot of stuff back then, and I almost was pretty much just checked out, like what it's gonna be, what it's gonna be. And so God saved my life at that time by introducing me to you brothers, and it really changed the whole dynamic of my life. And I've always been not really outspoken, but I wasn't really quiet.
Right.
I was never quiet about nothing, and people
Right.
always knew like
Right.
what he say he mean, and he gonna stand on
He
it,
gonna speak his mind,
right or wrong. Yeah. And what I've learned through you guys is a lot of it I was wrong. A lot of times I was wrong, and it really.
Mongo say you
it
gonna
humbled
have
me.
jail
He
ministry.
used to always say that. I
gonna
just
have
told
jail
somebody,
ministry.
look, I was rebuking the hell out of that. I said, like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. But nah, man, you guys really did break me down. And when she had sent that to me, like that's what really hit me is just like, man, I don't even really think these dudes should have a voice.
But I
and
think-
some of them are just weak.
And even just to go back to what you were saying, I think that was a safe environment, though.
Yeah.
A environment where you can be you, whatever wrongs, whatever you brought to the table, whatever anything, but it was still a safer environment because at the end of the day, we was gonna still love you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of men, I mean, may not have that. I know I didn't have that coming up.
Yeah.
I didn't have that Bible study. Not to say that it wasn't there. I'm just saying I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have those men like who would sit down and challenge me. I didn't get that until I started literally going to church as far as the Ron Cloud.
Yeah.
That's when I began to be exposed to like some real men who was and we were all at different places in our journey. You know, I'm raw like you coming in there. I'm coming straight off the streets. I don't know nothing about no church. I don't know nothing about nothing. But I had men that loved me. I remember a dude told me, he said he slid me a book. He didn't want to tell me I was angry. He slid me a book called by Tim LaHaye. I'll never forget that, Anger is a Choice. And I slid it back to him. I'm like, I ain't angry. And he slid it back to me. And he said, just the mere fact that you made that statement, you know. And then I read the book and I realized, dang, I'm angry.
I am angry. Yeah.
You know, and so I think there's a lot of black youngins out here who are just angry.
Yeah.
I can only speak on the demographic that I'm really dealing with.
They hurt.
You know, they hurt, fatherless. You know, a lot of them are literally raising themselves though, man. But go ahead, you was going.
It's the voice of man. Nah, that's good right there. Because I almost want to skip over this and come back to this question like that. Men being angry and being hurt. I'm seeing this too often, and it's pissing me off because I believe that I know this for a fact. Like we are the protectors of our women.
Yes.
Like we are, whether it's your woman or whether it's women, period.
Yes.
Like especially black men, we are the protectors of our women. Like even your wife. Like it's my responsibility to be able to protect your wife in the event you not there or you can't.
That's real.
And this is what pisses me off when I seen dudes like exploit or try to expose their exes or their child's mother and everything and make them look bad in the public eye. And I'm like, what gain are you going to get from this? Like, what does this do for you to make a black woman look bad? I don't care
Hurt.
what she did to you.
Hurt.
That's all it is.
It's hurt.
That's all it is. But it logically, like even when I was hurt, like I'm not trying to make a woman look bad. Like I feel like that degrades me as a man. Like it makes me look less of a man to try to say, look at her. She this,
Hurt,
she that.
Yeah, I don't agree with it, but I understand it. It's hurt.
Man,
It's hurt.
how could a man come out of that?
God, I think he really has to.
He think he know God.
He need to be challenged
He,
hard.
I could show you something.
Man, trust me, I deal with
I
him,
could,
and I had to and I challenged him real hard. I
Yeah.
challenged him real hard, and I think there's a level trauma. I never forget this, and I learned this from Miss Nadine. She was like a mother to me and Tasha. As John walked with me, Nadine walked with Tasha. Nadine said, "You don't get to step on my pinky toe and tell me how bad it hurt me." And I think a lot of people, they get hurt, and I can't tell them how to deal with their hurt. They have to go through a process, and some people do some dysfunctional stuff when they hurt.
Yeah,
You know, like we always hear the saying, hurt people, but heal people can also heal people.
Yeah.
And so it's really walking. I don't agree with a dude who trying to tear down his whoever, the woman, baby mama, whoever, because of hurt. But I understand the trauma of being hurt deeply and just wanting, because some dudes going as far as to kill him, which is like, this is like serious.
Yeah.
You know, and so,
I can't. I just can't do it. Like I think about Joseph and Mary. Like he said, Joseph had the right to put her away and let it be known. But it said he would, so that he's not hurting her. You know, to not embarrass her and everything. He said he's gonna put her away
quietly.
Yeah, like quietly, privately. Like I'm not even gonna put you on blast because I feel like I have a love for women, not just like I'm in love, I got feelings and emotions and everything, but I just have a love for women that something in me doesn't want to hurt them.
But
it wasn't always like that.
I think you had love for your mother.
Yeah.
And I think most men had issues with mama issues. I guarantee when you start tracing it back, when men do stuff like that, they got mama issues.
Yeah.
They didn't respect their mother. They didn't love their mother. Somewhere along the way, they might have seen their mother do some things where it actually crushed them.
Yeah.
You know, and they take that, believe it or not, you take that trauma with you into every relationship.
Yeah. It left that scar and they not even.
Until you really truly deal with that stuff. That was me.
Yeah.
I will hurt women, but the reason I realized why I was hurting them is because of my mother.
Man. And see, I think that's why that trauma, not just the mama trauma, but just all the trauma that we not dealing with, I think that's another reason why like our voices are becoming weak in this culture. And then you in today's society, and then you add all of the feminist movement and all of this
that's against the
trans
voice
stuff. It's pushing all of that, and it's like making the voice of man. We already have an outstanding number of weak men who don't stand on nothing, who just cower out, and then you put all of this on top of it. It's like, how can a man stand up? Because if I stand up and say something on what I believe, I'm going to get all the backlash in the world from it,
and we don't
especially
want that.
from my own people.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
But the average man, I listened to a brother today, strong brother, very well thought out brother, very articulate brother, man. He just saying, I just want peace. He just kept saying, he said, I just shut up because I just want peace.
That hurts me, man. Like, for men, like I have the utmost respect for any man that's going to stand on, even if I disagree with him, if he's going to stand on what he believes and not waver, I got respect for that man because I believe a man like that could turn to God and he'll be just like Paul. Yeah. But it hurts me when I see men change up because of some consequences or because of how they feel they're going to be viewed by women or something.
And then you got some men just tired of fighting. They've been very like, I done fought you told Hobbo to beat me. I've been fighting my whole life, you know what I'm saying? Some men just get there and they get tired, you know. That's why they say, you know, men fight the hardest when they're young.
Yeah.
And if you know, and once they start getting older, they start like, man, I ain't got it in me to do all that no more.
Man, you just got to change up how you fight, man.
Well, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. You know, but I'm looking at a society, like you said, the voices of men are muffled out on many, and I think a lot of it has to do, watch this, because if you go to Africa, it won't be that way.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? It's here in the United States.
Yeah. You
That's
go to
the
Dubai,
issue.
you go to Iran.
It ain't going to be these ways.
Yeah.
It's here. You feel what I'm saying? And so I think one thing hallelujah, thank you, Father. One thing I will encourage men to do is travel.
Yeah.
I think when I traveled, when I went to Africa, it opened my eyes. And I never forget, I had an Indian boy. More, you need to go, you need to travel, you need to see the world more. More, you have a limited view to your capital heights. You know, he was a good Indian friend out this. But he was right. When I did start to travel and go to Mexico and places like that, it really opened my eyes to the men around me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that a man can have a voice. It's here. It's here. You know, and it's like a lot of men will sell their voice to live a comfortable life.
Yeah. And I think women could, I don't know if they can see that, but once they realize it, it may be too late, and that's what turns them against us.
And sometimes, it just hit me. Some men think by doing that they are actually protecting their family, because most men, I believe we should protect a woman in 4 areas: mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. The average man only really thinks physical.
Yeah.
And so he figured, as long as I keep a roof over our head, you got money in the bank, I leave something for my family, I lose my voice for that. Long as I'm able to take care of my family with the tangible things.
Yeah.
And they're not realizing that she still needs that man spiritually to speak up.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll have to lose some of this in order to speak and have a real voice and say some real truths to a culture that's...
What if, speaking up, how do you know when you have to speak up against her?
When she's going against the word of God.
Oh, easy answer. I can't argue with that.
I mean, that's the
Yeah.
only time that I really would, for the most part, feel a certain time where I really have to speak up and say, Tasha, I don't see this lining up with the will of God for our lives.
Because at this time, you are protecting her from her own.
Now watch this. Hallelujah. You pulling out some stuff, because this is something. It was a time in my marriage where she viewed my protection as control. See, when you never been protected by a man, when you finally do get a man that's really trying to protect you, a lot of women view that as control.
Yeah.
You're controlling me. And I'm like, no, I'm not controlling you. You can't choose my friends for you. I'm telling you, she ain't
right.
She ain't right for you, and her goal is to damage our marriage. Well, and I'm like, because to me, I'm in full protection mode, because I see what she do. I see for real. If you leave out this house and leave us here, she gonna try to give me some.
Yeah.
You think that's your friend, but she did good enough to fool you. But I know how I'm seeing in her.
Yeah.
Her lust demon. And I'm trying to tell you, she ain't the best for us.
She not your friend.
She not your friend, and she's not best for us.
Yeah.
And well, you can't control my friendships. And I'm like, I'm not trying to control, I'm trying to protect.
Yeah. I'm trying to protect us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because any other man to mess around.
Go ahead, baby. Go on, man. I love when your friend Janine come over. Let her come on over, And man, matter of fact, she can watch the baby for it, I be sitting upstairs with a bottle.
I'm the baby.
I'm the baby. Yeah.
Nah, you said something about travel, and it made me think. Right, those names you mentioned, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and so we know that them two, you know, they was at odds. And I was listening to some old heads talk not too long ago, and they were saying like Martin Luther King wasn't even widely accepted like they make it seem he was today. He was like, it was a lot of people that opposed Martin Luther King back then because of his passive ways, his non-aggressive ways and everything. And Malcolm X being one of them, right? And when Malcolm X traveled, I had read something not too long ago. When he traveled, went to Mecca and everything, he said something like, America could be he had a awakening. It was like, America can be the first country to have a bloodless revolution. And when he came back, he had met with Martin Luther King. He was trying to meet with Martin Luther King, but he met with his wife or something.
Yes.
And he ended up saying, like, you started to see the change, and I believe that's probably why they had him killed. Because then now they's about to start to unite.
Yes.
Because he said, you know, my radical ways may have drawn the attention of these whites, and it made Martin Luther King's ways seem more acceptable to them. And so he said, like, my ways serve that purpose.
You know, towards the end, Malcolm began to be like King, and King started becoming like Malcolm.
Yeah. Right.
He was preaching, where's my 40 acres is in you, where my money at?
Yeah. But what it started to do with Malcolm is we don't need to have this division. When it made me think about that when you said when you travel, like this is in men's voices. He was like, we don't need. He traveled and he seen a unity that he never seen over here on this side, and he was like, we don't even. You got light skin and dark skin uniting over here. We dark skin, and we can't even
get together.
And he's like, and so and it started to do something. It started making his voice even stronger, and they had to diminish that thing. They ended up having to kill both of them.
Yeah, because there's they don't want unity.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into a whole different subject, but that's a lot. And I do believe as fathers, as sons, I can't watch this. Until I learn to be a son and a father, I can't learn to be your brother. And I think
you just wrapped it all in.
And I think
brought it all in.
Yeah, I think that's what's missing. These are the missing components that I believe to bring this brotherhood together.
Yeah, that's all.
She like, give my phone back.
Go ahead. You bet.
So my question was in regards to like the fact that those people were assassinated, right? Do you think that their being assassinated has caused just like back in, you know, Jim Crow times, right? How they were trying to basically kill, emasculate the man, right? Do you think that was that modern day way of them basically
emasculate?
Taking the voice from the men. Do you think that they had to be those public figures that they took off this earth so that they can see or they can make the black man become
docile,
quiet and docile? Do you think that was like, you know, the plan?
Yes. I think that was a part of the plan. I think they hit us in many different facets, you know, to steal our voice, to make us docile, from the food we eat to the music we listen to, and by weaponizing the black woman.
Yeah.
And they weaponized the black woman. What you say?
Taking the black man out the home.
Taking the black man out the home, but they also start to give welfare. That's when, I don't know if y'all remember that movie Claudine with James Earl Jones. And so welfare was the beginning of the weaponizing of the black woman. Because even during slavery times, you can see it. Because what you got to remember, during slavery time, and this is what happened, they will whoop that black man
in front of them,
in front of their family. A woman's greatest need is what?
Protection,
security. I can no longer trust this man to be my security. Yeah. And so now, what did she do? She began to be overprotective of that little black boy because she didn't want that what she just seen happen to that man
to happen to her child.
To happen to that child. So even in slavery, what happens is the focus is taken off the man, the husband again, and put to the child. You see it today. You really see it today that a woman will be overprotective of her children
Yeah.
and like the hell with the husband. Excuse my French. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? With the husband a lot of times, or the man, or my child becomes especially if that child was not by that man that they married.
Yeah.
I got
Gotta
her
protect them at
first
all
priority
costs.
will be that child, and will even sacrifice the marriage
Yeah.
for that child. And so it's a lot of
Man.
different dynamics that play, from the music to the food to the whole culture that has been flipped around on purpose.
Yeah.
And so, the new thing, and I'm not trying to be funny, is to effeminize men. That's a big push, because when you effeminize man, that's also another way of taking their voice away.
Yeah.
Of that man's voice.
I heard a while ago, some old heads was telling me what you saying, like killing Malcolm X, killing Martin Luther King, taking away that voice. They were saying the generation, not the generation before me, but my mother's generation. He was saying like your parents and your grandparents' generation failed y'all, because when they killed Malcolm X and then they killed Martin Luther King, nobody else stepped up to the podium in that capacity. Why? And they distorted the message to make you think that it was something else, and nobody else.
You know what they did, right? They replaced it. It's like they did a replacement thing. So when they did that, what they did is they started doing. When did integration of schools happen? Was that after King, before King?
Nah, that was during King.
It was during King.
It was while he was alive. Yeah.
So what they start doing, they start giving you stuff like that, and giving you quote unquote equal opportunity to move into their neighborhoods, to get certain jobs.
Make you think you made it.
So once you thought you made it, you didn't feel the need to fight anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing today. If we give you that bag, we give you that money. That's another way to control your voice or quiet your voice. Because let me think about. I was just talking. Was it you? Who was it? I was just talking to somebody before I came here, and the issue was like pastors pimping people about the money and all that stuff. A lot of them knew the truth. They knew what they was doing. They knew what they was doing, but they was like, if I tell the truth, I mean, my house, my car, I gotta sacrifice this stuff. I don't want to do it. I like the way I live. And so that was another way to pacify. They pacified the voice. They buy the voice of certain prominent individuals who can change a lot of things and speak out on a lot of things.
And see, they don't like people that are sacrificed for the right reason.
Well, you don't make. Excuse my French. They don't make niggas the way they used to.
Nah.
And I say, and the reason why I say that is because a lot of these new dudes ain't willing to give their life for what they say they believe. They not willing to say, you know what, I'll die for this. Yeah. They'd rather die for respect in the streets, or die for, but I'm not dying for speaking truth to people and really standing on what I believe. They not a lot of these pastors, from pastors down to prominent businessmen, whoever you want to be, they ain't willing to die for this.
Man, it's just men.
Because of their mothers, is that because of the leaders being killed publicly? What do you think?
Go
When
ahead.
when you don't see it, especially when you don't see it often, you don't know to be it. So even with, it's not even just in our community. I saw a video on Facebook not too long ago where some people were shooting in the parking lot and the kids was on a baseball field. Little kids, like 5, 6 years old. They on a baseball field playing baseball, and when the shooting goes off, you see all the parents and everything ducking under the bleachers while the kids are still standing. And I'm thinking, why ain't nobody running to help these kids? Yeah. But everybody, they ducking. I'm like, grown people. Like, these are they kids on the joint. Umpiring everybody on the field. Nobody's running to the kids, and the kids are hysterical. My instinct was, man, somebody go protect these kids. I'll take a bullet for one of these kids trying to protect this.
I think you got to train your mind to think like that.
I never had nobody like that in my life, though, Mo.
And that's the thing. Meaning that whenever something break out like that, I think our natural instinct is self-preservation.
Mine never was that, though. I don't know why, but it was never.
Well, you different. You know what I'm saying? You're, as we say, you're a freak of nature. I mean, and I'm with you because I had been put in a position like that where I had to literally use my life, my body as a shield for somebody who wanted to kill somebody.
Yeah.
You know, but everybody ain't like that. I think that's something innate. I don't know. I believe they can be taught, but I think that comes along when we begin to break that selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's a part of our selfish nature.
I mean,
and what you call that? Self-preservation.
I kind of get it though, because I asked this question with brothers that we know, like brothers that got families, some that don't, and I said, would y'all be ready to die today? Like, would you be ready to go today? If something happened and you would have had to sacrifice your life, would you be? And all of them was like, nah. Like I want to be here for my kids and this and that. And people say that my mind would change when I have kids. I don't believe so, because like I genuinely feel this deep down in my heart. Like whatever it is that I'm called to do here, whatever I'm going to stand on, I'm going to stand on it to the end. And if it costs me my life, like Martin Luther King knew he was about to die. Malcolm X knew he was about to die.
Yep.
Bobby Seale, I think that's his name, the Black Panthers.
Fred Hampton.
Not Bobby Seale, Fred Hampton. Yeah. When in that Judas and the Black Messiah, she asked him like, she was basically like, I'm pregnant and you talking about going out here, this and that. Like, I'm ready to lay my life on the line for this. And she basically saying like, this is bigger than just our family. Like I'm doing this for you, but I'm doing this for it's not many men that carry. It's not many men that carry that today. And like, and that's why I was like, man,
bought dogs don't bark.
Bought dogs.
Yeah, and I mean, meaning that, you know, a lot of they think that I have to be, and I hear this a lot. I have to be here for my kids.
Yeah,
I have to be here for my family. I have to be there, you know. And I get it. I truly get it. But I think it's a calling. And I don't expect everybody to have that, because I think that is a calling that you, in something that's innate that God has given you, that you know this may be my lot in life.
Yeah.
Everybody ain't born with that martyr complex.
I don't want it. Like, I don't want to die.
No,
but
I ain't going out here looking for it. I ain't going.
Man, my anger, and I question God, like, is that pride or what is it? But like my anger turns into, like, when I have fear, it turns into anger, which allows me to be courageous in that moment or something. Like if I see you threaten a woman or threaten a kid, you pose a threat to some kind of kid or something, it makes me angry, and it makes me look at you like an enemy, not an individual, but this situation or something. It puts me in that mode, and I'm 5'4", 165 pounds. I ain't no big dude, right? So ain't nobody got no reason to be scared of me or nothing. But that's why I say I don't understand how men, like, why don't we have that? Even so, I'm a firm believer that if I have children, if I get married and I have children and God takes me, because my life is dedicated to God. If something happens and my life is over, this flesh is over while my children are still young, I trust that God is going to do.
I believe that. That's my philosophy. I believe that my family going to be all right.
Yeah.
Because God knows, and I know that I'm doing this for God.
Right. I died in my purpose. I didn't die like shooting dice on the corner and somebody came over and shot me.
Right. That's real.
Yeah. But some men, a lot of men that I talk to is like, nah, the same response. Like, man, I want to be here for my kids. I want to raise my kids. And I was like,
you know.
Do y'all think it's really that, or does it sound good?
What?
Both.
That they want,
I think it's like you asked me what are the contributing factors. I think it's no cookie cutter. I think each one has their own stuff that they concocted in their head as to why they won't, or why. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know. I talk to dudes. My thing is, some dudes are scared, and I think that's one of the hardest in this culture of false bravado. I think a lot of men are scared to admit that they're scared.
They don't have that.
You know what I'm saying? But I always tell people, you'll realize who someone is in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I remember just talking to, if it was me, everybody would say what they would do. You know, like Mike Tyson said, everybody will fight until they get that first hit. You know what I'm saying?
Punching in your mouth.
And then you'll find out what you're truly made out of.
Yeah.
You know, I've been through some things to say that showed me, for me, you know, what I will do and what I won't do.
Yeah.
You know, and just being, and then if I didn't respond properly, I got to go to God and say, all right, well, what was going on in my heart? What's really take real inventory of myself and say, and to be a man enough to admit that, you know what, I was scared. You know, like, you know, it's like when I first got kidnapped, laying in that trunk, I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared. And it wasn't until when my whole life flashed before me that I was like, my fear turned into fight.
Yeah.
And I said, I gotta live at this point. I started kicking and screaming. They're like, you do that one more time, we're gonna kill you. I kicked harder. You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna kill me anyway.
You
so
gonna
ain't
kill
no, yeah.
And then when they took me to the place, this was when I really found out my uncle at the time who had my money. Cause I wasn't gonna take them to my mother's house. I was like, y'all not going in there. If you gonna kill me, you're gonna kill me. But you're not going in my mother's house with them kids. And this is what it told them. If somebody see this who was dead, they'll know that one of the robbers still living. But I was like, you're not going in that house. And they was like, well, if we don't get the money, we're going to kill you. I said, I'll figure out a way you're going to get some money, but you ain't going in that house.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember that I had gave my uncle some money to hold for me. And I took them there, and they went to go, and they was going to shoot him. And I jumped in front of them with the gun. Yeah. And I was like, look, I told my uncle, man, just go give him the money. Just go give him the money, give him what he came for. And that was that. But that was the first time that I realized I was willing to put my life on the line for somebody else. Yeah. You know.
And see, I don't even think that was something that you had to think about. Like,
I don't think I didn't think at that time. I didn't.
Yeah.
I just did it. All I knew was, I don't know what, I just did it. To be honest with you, I did just do it.
Because there was a situation, I can't go into too much detail, but it was involving guns and two other people. And when a life got put on the line, some gunshots went, and I was just like, I ain't trying to get hit. I ran around the corner, and then something clicked in me, was like, nah, go back, because you protected in this instant. And I ran back around and then put myself between the two dudes, and all three of us was holding the Joe. And I was like, look, man, at this time, you gonna have to let go, because you going, and it wasn't even no like bravado thing. It wasn't enough. It was just like God was like,
do it.
Yeah. Like you the one. Like something would have happened at that time where it wouldn't have, like, I know this, like in my spirit, I know like somebody's life would have been lost at that moment if I wouldn't have went.
And that's when I'm thinking about it, that's the reason why I jumped in front of my uncle, because I couldn't have his death on my conscience. Yeah. I couldn't have had that death on my conscience because I was the reason why they was there.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of felt responsible, you know. Yeah.
I think as a whole, we all need to keep that that perspective, like in the grand scheme of things, like especially black men, like we are the reason our community is falling.
Yes.
And so let me put myself on this front line.
What you talking about was the intercessor. Yeah. I'm a feeling like Pastor Balboa, men in the gap. I feel as though I have to fill that gap now. Yeah. Because first of all, I felt responsible because my community is the way it is because I helped contribute to that.
Right.
You know, to the dysfunction, to the hurt, to the robbery, to the crime, to the drugs I sold, everything. I helped contribute to that. And so now I do feel that pressing responsibility that I got to go back and do some things.
Stand in this gap.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And even for the people who may not appreciate you standing in the gap, who may look at you as you blocking, you messing things up for me. I like this crime. This is how I live.
Yeah, they don't know no better though.
Yeah, but I was him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was that guy, and so but to still love that guy in spite of.
Yeah. You know? That's something we all got to learn to do, man. We all our brother's keeper. And that's why, like, with the nonprofit, it was character and accountability. But I believe I put that wrong. It should be accountability and character, because I believe accountability breeds
character.
Yeah.
I feel you.
And so I'm good, man. You had anything else you wanted to ask?
No, I think
You sure? You all right?
great.
All right, that's the podcast then.
Where can they catch us?
Y'all can find us, Deep Sky Diving Podcast, at gmail.com if you want to reach out. Deep Sky Diving Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. And maybe a Facebook coming soon. I don't know. Maybe we'll do that, though. But, hey, we out. Make it work.